The Arizona desert is one of the harshest landscapes in North America. Temperatures soar past 110 degrees in summer, and the terrain stretches endlessly: sand, rock, and silence. For most, it's a place you pass quickly, but for two young children, it became a trap. This is the true story of how Border Patrol agents found a 7-year-old boy and his 4-year-old sister, abandoned and alone in the middle of the desert. A story of fear, of survival, and of a rescue that almost didn't happen in time. At the Ajo Border Patrol station, agents gathered for their usual morning briefing. The day's mission was simple but dangerous: patrol the desert corridors known for smuggler activity. Agent Rodriguez, a 10-year veteran with calm eyes and a serious tone, reviewed the satellite heat maps. A spot of unusual movement had appeared late the previous night. Nothing confirmed, but enough to send a team to check it out. Little did they know, that one little dot on the map would lead them to two children fighting for their lives. By mid-morning, the sun was already unforgiving. Agents Rodriguez and Miller loaded their truck with water, medical kits, and emergency gear. The desert road rattled beneath the tires as they moved deeper into remote territory. Miller adjusted his binoculars.
Heat waves already. We have maybe an hour before it becomes dangerous to be on foot. Nothing so far.
Rodriguez nodded.
Let's hope it stays that way. The sun's just getting started.
But fate had other plans. About 40 minutes into the patrol, Rodriguez spotted something unusual near a dry wash.
Yeah,
He slowed the
fresh
vehicle.
prints in the wash. 2 sets. Small. Kids maybe.
In the sand, he could see tiny footprints. 2 sets. Small. Fresh. Miller jumped out immediately. "These are kids' prints," he said, kneeling down, "and they're headed north." Kids. Alone. In this heat. It didn't make sense. But they didn't have time to question it. Rodriguez grabbed the radio. "Dispatch, this is Bravo 12. We have possible juvenile footprints in Sector 7. Beginning search." The agents moved quickly but carefully, reading the sand like a book. Footprints telling a silent story. At first, the tracks were steady, but soon they began to stagger. The smaller footprints drifted sideways, crossing and recrossing the older child's path, a sign of exhaustion. Far ahead, something caught Miller's eye. A small piece of fabric. He picked it up. A pink hair ribbon. He froze for a moment. This wasn't just a patrol anymore. This was a race against the desert. The agents pushed forward another half mile. And then they heard it. A faint sound carried by the wind. At first, it was impossible to tell. A cry? An animal? Or just the desert playing tricks? Rodriguez raised his hand, signaling Miller to stop. They listened. There it was again. A small, weak voice. "Help! Please!" The agents sprinted. Over a rise behind a cluster of desert shrubs, they found them. 2 children, a boy and a girl. The boy, around 7 years old, stood trembling, holding his little sister close. The girl was barely conscious, her lips cracked, face pale, breathing shallow. They had no water, no adults, no supplies, nothing but each other. Rodriguez dropped to his knees, gently placing a hand on the girl's forehead. Her skin was burning. Heat exhaustion, possibly heat stroke. Miller opened the emergency kit and handed over water bottles. The children's hands shook as they reached for them. Rodriguez stopped them. No, small sips," he said calmly. "Too much water too fast can make you sick." The boy nodded, eyes full of fear, tears mixing with dust. Miller asked softly, "Where are your parents?" The boy's answer was barely above a whisper. "They left us. They told us to wait here. They didn't come back." Rodriguez felt a chill, not from the wind, but from the reality of what these children had endured. The girl could not walk. Rodriguez picked her up carefully, cradling her against his chest as they moved back toward the vehicle. The boy held Miller's hand the entire way, refusing to let go. Inside the truck, they blasted the air conditioning, stabilized the children, and radioed for medical support. Dispatch, we need EMT at the rendezvous point. Pediatric emergency. Heat exhaustion. Possible dehydration stage 3. Time was critical. As the truck sped across the dirt roads, the boy spoke in broken sentences.
We walked all night. There were a lot of grown-ups. Then they started going faster. We couldn't keep up. No one waited. Even our family.
When morning came, the desert was empty. They were alone. The boy tried to be brave for his sister, but by midday, she had collapsed. Hearing this, Rodriguez clenched the steering wheel. He had seen many tragedies in the desert, but nothing hits harder than abandoned children. At the highway rendezvous point, ambulances were waiting. The girl was placed on a stretcher and connected to IV fluids immediately. Her condition was dangerous, but treatable. The boy sat beside her, holding her tiny hand all the way into the ambulance.
Anytime, buddy. You're safe now.
Both children survived. Doctors later confirmed that another hour in the desert would have been fatal, especially for the 4-year-old girl. The two were taken into protective custody, provided food, medical care, and safety. For the agents, the rescue became one of the most emotional cases of their careers. This real incident was officially documented by U.S. Border Patrol in 2015. But for the children who lived it, it was more than an event. It was a miracle, a second chance at life. The Arizona desert holds many secrets. Most of them will never be known. But on that day, 2 children were found before the heat could claim them, because 2 agents followed footprints, because they refused to overlook a ribbon in the sand, and because compassion still drives those who risk their lives out there every day. In a place where the sun can kill, sometimes all it takes to save a life is noticing the smallest sign. A footprint, a ribbon, a faint cry carried by the wind. This was the story of 2 young children rescued from the edge of death, and a reminder that even in the harshest deserts, hope can still be found.